I decided to do the voiceover on this because I could speed up the video and not bore you to tears. The whole premise of paper casting is to take a paper that is malleable when it's wet, like toilet paper is the best, or Kleenex. In this case, I tried a coffee-stained paper towel because I wanted to see if I could achieve the tea-stained look on this rose. I thought it would look very Victorian and shabby chic. Excuse me. The process is that you tear a single ply of the paper towel and spray it with a spray bottle of water. And in this particular step right here, I am tamping it down with a small stencil brush. You want to be sure that you get paper down into every one of those crevices that you carved. This will be the top layer of your paper casting, so this layer has to be really, well, okay, you can get sloppy on the subsequent layers because they don't show. That's my point. If you happen to pick up some trash or some color or some glitter from your desktop, that's fine too. So I tamp a little, add a little more water, but I want to make sure the paper is down in those grooves as good as I can possibly get it. I must have been in a meditative state when I did this particular piece because I didn't say a word through the entire filming. That's funny. Especially those of you who know me, I can sit there and whistle Dixie and make some noise to entertain with. This is a slow process, but it's a cathartic one. Um, it unless you're in a big hurry, but it's kind of fun just to have something repetitive to do. And those paper towels have been a little bit wet already, which I think really helped them. I had a really uh, I had a memory of something I heard in a class. Using a foam roller on something like this would enable the foam to go down in the creases. And I thought, well, hey, that'd be a great idea. So I got out a cheap brush. And of course, being cheap, the handle broke on the first pass. But that was okay because I felt like I then found out I could put more pressure on it. And I would squeeze it, push it down almost to the core, and it got down in those holes really better than the stencil brush did, and it was a whole lot easier on your arm. Alrighty, I have gone ahead and layered till it's almost flat. If you think your piece is going to get a lot of pressure, just keep on until it's completely level. But for most cards and journal pages, this is sufficient. But that's up to you and how anal you are. So I just tore pieces and overlap pieces, and I'm going to hit it with a little bit of heat. Whoops, leave it alone. I really like this roller over the last time I did this, or the first time I did it, because it soaks up a lot of excess moisture and it gets down in those holes. This worked, but it wore out my wing. So I'm going to dry it a bit and I'll be back. I just dried just a bit, not enough to take the moisture out by any means. And now the big reveal. Take it off while it's still very wet. Now see, once you get it started, look at that. Perfect little tea rose. Isn't that neat? This first layer was some coffee stained paper towel, and it didn't work absolutely great, but I was after that distressed look and I got it. So if those pieces don't stay down good when they're dry, a little bit of matte medium will fix that right up. Okay, now that one sits over to dry. Isn't that just cool? Paper casting. Now, when I started this, if you remember, I started with Maria's. Look at that, I laid that down just right the first time. Maria's stencil. This is the, we're going to call this the positive, and this the negative, everything but the lines. I just took my scissors and cut around the edge of this. It's organic in its shape, but it's certainly not organic in the straight lines, so we'll worry about that later. I did cut through this a couple of times. You can see it better on this side. And that does not matter one whit. So I'm going to go ahead and do a casting from this. Never content to just stick with one thing that I know works, like the toilet paper. I found this piece of scrap tissue paper in my bin. I don't even know where I got it. I suspect it was from a friend who was dismantling. It's too early for Vicki. She was unmantling her studio and gave me a bunch of papers and stuff. But the tissue paper is a little bit more firm than the toilet paper, but it did work better than the paper towel. So it's my job to try all this stuff and let you know what you're going to encounter so that you'll try some things on your own. This is a big game, and there are no rights and wrongs and no rules. Alright, this one has been dried a bit. It could use a few more layers, but I have been summoned, and I haven't tried doing one of these and leaving it on the support to dry, so we'll see. Ooh, look at that. Cool. Alrighty, there you have it. See how those carved lines from the tools, you can see exactly where those gouge lines are. That was okay, but I thought, well, if I got rid of these sections completely, then I could control what kind of pattern goes in here. Okay? Okay? I said I was going to stop saying that, but I didn't. Matching things up is always fun. There. So I cut these areas out, and I'm going to see if I can control the pattern. So same technique as before. We'll see what we get. I'll be back. Let me show you what I pulled from the goodie bin. I've got, this was shelf liner, and it's got a fairly nice rib. This would make straight lines. I pulled a Cuttlebug embossing plate, and I picked one with a small all over pattern, and you could use either side. It's not quite big enough though, so that's kind of a, I've got some bigger ones. I'm going to put that one back and get a different one. And this is a Fisker's texture plate. It's not very deep, but it's as deep as those marks from this tool, so I may try that one. Alright. One of the fun things I love about mixed media and all the tools that are available is that every step you think oh, that'll be an easy decision, and then you come here and you think, okay, well, do I want the emboss side or the deboss side, and which will look better in reverse? Do you want your pattern raised? So those are all options, and the fun thing is that means that everything you do is so original, nobody else will ever have one just like it. In fact, you can't even do your own just like it. How about that? Alright, so I'm going to use that. Now, remember yesterday when I was having so much trouble? It was taking 5 or 10 minutes, it seemed, to pull the layers apart. And last night, Randy came in with a cheap roll of toilet paper that he had in his hunting sack. Isn't that a beauty? And the thing will separate in streamers. So now that he did that, I'm not limited by sitting here all afternoon and pulling tissue paper apart. So I'm going to try to do several more, and then that'll be it. So I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, this time I'm going to use a piece of deli paper as my first coat, or my first layer. This was a brilliant idea. The glimmer mist is a good idea. I sprayed it on the wrong side though, but then I sprayed some on the underside and it worked. The problem was the wax paper had just enough body that it did not soak down in the crevices. I refused to give up, and I tried every tool I could think of, even a dull X-Acto knife, trying to cut down in those crevices. But I kept going because I just wanted to see what was going to happen. And I think deli paper is not to be recommended. Tissue paper would work though, I think. And I think you'd get a good emboss on that. Experiment and play, and don't be dissatisfied. Just keep going, and you never know what you might turn up with. Alright, I'm going to keep going just because I want to see where this ends up. But I'm not going to torture you with it. Bah. Okay, turn off burst string speed. Yep, that's what I said. I even remember our goal, I said in one of the earlier ones, was to keep doing this until this back was almost smooth. Well, this is the experimental one with that deli paper. I'm not real sure how it's going to turn out. But I tried to make sure that my paper was pressed into the embossing plate, at least around the edges in these big areas. And then I started filling in these holes with some of the scraps. Got to be careful using your fingers because your finger will pull the top layer off. But I'm going to call that one quits since it was experimental, and I've got a deadline. So just come off of there. When you're doing this, also make sure that you get rid of all the straight edges when they're wet. And that gives you a handmade paper look. Capiche? Okay, let's take this baby off. See if we got anything. I sound like a preschool teacher. We didn't get anything. How about that? Well, that grand idea didn't work. But we got a beautiful pink rose. So the pattern I used on the cuttlebug plate was not deep enough. The deli paper gave us some little wrinkled looks, which I like. And we did end up picking up quite a bit of texture in the middle where I was poking around on it. So there's grand experiment number 1. I think I've got time for 2 more, so let's keep going. Alrighty, I'm going to ditch those other 2 ideas I talked about. This is a roll of a serious texture. Got it from Walmart. It was on sale for $3. See the holes in it? I'm going to give that a shot and see if I can pick up any of that texture. It's interesting though, because I was confident I'd pick up that. Oh well, we're not going to worry about that. Scissors go back in the pile. Texture goes there. I'm just going to do, what am I just going to do? Yeah, I'm going to do this one just plain white. And it can always be textured or sprayed or whatever you decide you want. So here we go. Remember, I'm just going to layer enough. And I'm going to use smaller pieces this time so that I won't have that pull. I don't think I'll have it anyway because the deli paper was stronger than this. Just bits and pieces. I don't worry either about the trash on my desk. Just remember that whatever's on this very first layer is what's going to show through. Wow, I am tickled with this. I picked up not only the texture pattern of the little squares, the woven pattern, but it wasn't color fast, so I picked up the blue, the color of the net. That is way cool, and I think this one is one of my favorites. This is a Seth Apter stencil from StencilGirl. And I was particularly drawn to the wide open space. This was the very first sample I made. It's kind of leathery. It's all dry. It's got the texture. Got a little bit of trash from my desk, which I really like. But this one I just did, you got to see, is the reverse of this one. Guys, this would make a really cool painted flower or photograph or dried flower, anything like a little picture frame. Is that cool? Now that one just came off the mold. Thanks for watching, and please go to my YouTube channel, Vicki Ross. I've got a bunch of videos over there, and I would love to have you come over and subscribe, and maybe we can do more of these for StencilGirl. Thanks a lot, guys.